Alright guys, so today we have some good news regarding PlayStation and Gamescom, and potentially some pretty significant announcements or updates on some games that we are looking forward to. This is something that a lot of us have really kind of been waiting to find out the type of presence that Sony is going to have at Gamescom this year. Now, one thing we do have confirmed 100% for sure that I'm really excited for is that Jeff Keighley has confirmed that Hideo Kojima will be at Gamescom this year, and he's going to be showing a new look at Death Stranding. That's all we know right now, so we can only assume that it's going to be gameplay. I'm sure that a lot of us are really holding out hope that it is finally going to be an extended gameplay demo, because if there's anything that people have been really wanting to see when it comes to this game is just raw gameplay. We got a pretty decent glimpse into what we can expect gameplay wise from the reveal of the release date. That long 8.5 minute trailer, we definitely got a glimpse at some gameplay, but I think if Sony and Kojima want to elevate this game to the next level in terms of hype and really sell a lot of people on it to be there day one, they're going to have to show some more gameplay. I think just some raw, 5, 10, maybe even 15 minutes of gameplay. I know that that's something I really want to see. I have a lot of faith in Death Stranding. I'm going to be there day one because I'm a big Kojima fan. I'm a big Metal Gear Solid fan, so I'm really liking what I'm seeing of this game so far. But I can also completely understand why people really are at a point where, hey, we really want to see, some more gameplay. We want to see what the game's actually going to be like when we have the controller in our hands and what it's going to be like to just play the game. And I'm really hoping that that's what we're going to see at Gamescom. We might not. I think it would be a little bit of a mistake if they, don't use this opportunity to really show off some gameplay. It could just end up being another cinematic trailer, or maybe it could be a combination of the two, a cinematic trailer that leads into some raw gameplay. We don't know yet. But we do know Death Stranding will be there, Kojima will be there, so that is very exciting, something I'm really, really looking forward to. And I honestly, I've said it many times before, and I'll continue to say it, that Death Stranding is my most anticipated game for this year. It's a game that I have a lot of faith in. I think it's going to do really well, and I'm just really curious to see if the gameplay is going to elevate it to that next level that I feel like it's going to be at, because there are, believe it or not, a significant amount of people who are on the fence with Death Stranding because they're not entirely sold on it yet. They just want to see gameplay. They want to know what the game's going to play like. So totally understandable there. But continuing to talk about Gamescom here, something else that was announced is that apparently more than 15 publishers are going to premiere new content and make new announcements during Gamescom. At least that's what Jeff Keighley is posting here. And he listed all 15 of them, and Sony Interactive Entertainment is listed as one of the big publishers that's going to be there making some type of announcement. Now, this could just be in regards to Death Stranding. I think that there's a really good chance, honestly, that that's all it's going to be. But you know how we are. We want to get our expectations up and believe that maybe we're going to see something else, because there's no denying that Sony has been very, very quiet when it comes to talking about some of their other big projects, namely The Last of Us Part 2, but also Ghost of Tsushima as well. But when, looking at this thread on Twitter, I scroll down, the top comment I see is, if we get The Last of Us 2 with a Joel GIF or GIF, however you want to pronounce it. And that seems to be the most upvoted comment. The second most upvoted comment is somebody saying Sony and Capcom showing new stuff with an excited Sailor Moon. So, it's clear that people have expectations when it comes to Sony being at Gamescom. I want to say that there is a chance that Sony may utilize Gamescom as their big moment to really give us a major update on at least one of the major games. Like, let's say Last of Us Part 2. That's what I would hope for. I think if they really want to make a lot of noise to kind of carry them through the holiday season up until the release of Death Stranding, that's something they could do. But again, it's kind of like a 50-50 thing here. Something that Sony has really proven this year is that they are willing, and not just this year, I should also add to last year as well, kind of towards the end of E3 last year, going into this year, and now we're, well into this year, almost approaching the holiday season. Sony has proven that they are willing to stay very quiet, almost silent in some cases. And some fans kind of don't like this, and I can understand why, but Sony's also kind of proven that they can still keep the conversation going and keep the conversation strong while being very minimal in what they reveal and what they talk about. They're also very smart about it as well. We know, and I've said this time and time again, and I will continue to say this up until the game actually launches, that The Last of Us Part 2 is going to be the biggest game that Sony launches on the PlayStation 4 this entire generation. I can promise you that. It's going to be something that I personally don't think we've really ever seen before for a game. At least that's what I'm hoping for. And I've just been thinking about it lately, and I'm desperate as, I don't want to say desperate, right? Because it just sounds a little bit like I'm exaggerating here. But at the same time, like, I'm very eager. That's the word I want to use. I'm very eager to learn more about specifically The Last of Us Part 2. As excited as I am for Death Stranding, I'm really hyped for that game. And I know it's going to be an amazing experience regardless of what anybody says. And I personally believe, and this is, maybe this is just my personal bias here, I think Death Stranding is going to end up being Game of the Year 2019. I think it certainly has that potential. You can just tell it just screams quality, and there's just something there that's going to be special about it. And I feel like anybody who's played a Hideo Kojima game in the past, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He adds just that special factor that really you don't find in any other game. So I'm not really too worried about that, especially knowing we're going to be getting it this November. But when it comes to The Last of Us Part 2, man, like, I'm blown away by the amount of hype that still surrounds this game for as quiet as Sony has been. And so if they really want to just kind of like overshadow everything that pretty much has been done until this point, they could give us an update or some type of new reveal, maybe a new trailer revealing Joel, during Gamescom 2019. The only problem with that, and I know this sounds kind of funny to some people, we kind of joke around about how Sony is like competing with themselves these days, and it kind of is true if I'm being honest. We just talked about how they sold 100 million PS4s, and we have the conversation, can it actually find a way to outsell the PlayStation 2 in the long run? And people just kind of like laugh at it because it's like, really? This is the point it's gotten to where Sony's just, they're so far ahead that they're competing with themselves in some cases, kind of poking at Xbox there. But if they were to reveal something on The Last of Us Part 2 at Gamescom, I think that could actually run the risk of completely overshadowing whatever this is that Kojima's planning on showing off at Gamescom. But at the same time, and this is where I kind of want to end the video, we could see an interesting dynamic here where maybe Kojima is planning to show off new gameplay of Death Stranding, and obviously because we haven't really seen raw gameplay of this, that's going to be able to stand out on its own because, like, oh, here's the raw gameplay of Death Stranding. This is what it's going to be like when you get the controller in your hands come November 8th and you play the game for yourself. And then maybe they show another short trailer, maybe nothing too long, not an extended gameplay update or anything like that, but maybe a trailer featuring Joel for The Last of Us Part 2. That way they can kind of separate themselves, where The Last of Us is showing off a cinematic trailer, and that can stand on its own, and Death Stranding can stand on its own by not showing a cinematic trailer for once and actually showing off a gameplay segment. I think that would be a really good thing, but at the same time, everything I'm saying here is just speculation other than the fact we know we're going to be getting a big update on Death Stranding. And if that's all we get, I will still be happy because I'm very much looking forward to the game. But there's no denying that I think at this point, anytime we see Sony involved in anything, we're all going to be hoping to see more of The Last of Us Part 2, or at the very least, an update on Ghost of Tsushima. They've just been so quiet, and you really have to think, because we're getting closer to 2020. I mean, we're not there yet, but we are getting closer. What is Sony's plan? What are they going to do for a game like The Last of Us Part 2? Is it truly going to be the final PS4 exclusive that they release? You know, or are they going to surprise us and it's going to come out sooner? We don't know, but I wanted to take some time to talk about this and kind of get us a little bit hyped up because, you know, I went on record saying that I'm personally not expecting anything at Gamescom, but now I do feel significantly more excited knowing that we are going to get something from Death Stranding, so that alone gets me hyped. But thinking, you know, that Sony is going to be there, we know that they're on this list of the 15 publishers. Maybe they're going to have more to show. We know that they didn't show up at E3 this year, so who knows? Surely, at the very least, and this is the last thing I'll say, we know that Sony is well aware of how eager fans like myself and many others are to learn more about The Last of Us Part 2 or Ghost of Tsushima as well. So hopefully with that knowledge, they're going to utilize Gamescom as kind of like the last big event. I mean, I know there's going to be some other events throughout the year, but I think Gamescom is really the last major big one. Where they could really do something significant. So that's going to do it for the video, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Are you excited that we're going to be seeing more of Death Stranding at Gamescom? And do you think Sony's going to end up having a bigger presence there than just Death Stranding? You think there's going to be more announcements? Do you think we could see The Last of Us Part 2? We'll be interested to see what you have to say. Leave the video a like if you did enjoy it. Really helps it out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.